Well, fundamentally, and to begin with, Lake Worth is a reservoir for the Fort Worth water system. About a quarter to a quarter of the water that we use in Fort Worth comes through Lake Worth. It's the last lake in the Northwest watershed, Bridgeport, Eagle Mountain, and Lake Worth. And secondly, many of us out here had a vision that this particular property or area could be a beautiful asset to the citizens of Fort Worth now, and certainly for the future, if the area were dredged and cleaned up and parklands reclaimed and in fact expanded. The city of Fort Worth owns hundreds and hundreds of acres around Lake Worth that it can use as parkland. There are other public areas. There are 18 public parks around Lake Worth, 19 counting Goat Island, which is in the background here as we look out there. I mean, you can only get there by water. But I would say certainly that there are plenty of public parks out here, and I think it'd probably be good if people investigated a little bit instead of just driving around determining which public park they want to go to.
I spent my summers divided between the lake and my grandfather's dairy farm. So I spent a lot of time as a kid out there on that pier right next to where Joe lives. I mentioned to you that that's where I got polio. I remember that. But ideally, or idyllically, it's just has always been a very romantic kind of a atmosphere for me, because of not only the nostalgia part of it, which is always to me inspirational, because even though it might not be quite in reality quite that romantic, it's still, if I elaborate in my imagination, it becomes very romantic. And I've written over 300 plays, and I think at least half or 3/4 have something about the lake in it, because it just comes out. See, I consider this whole thing part of the lake, even though we're a little bit away from the water, but it's still the lake to me. So much development is based on greed with no interest or comprehension, or maybe they do comprehend, but they just don't really give a damn about generations to come and what they're doing to ruin the whole atmosphere of the place. And I know, I mean, I'm not stupid enough to think it's not going to change. I know it's going to change, but there's change for the better and there's change for the worse. And I thought about, well, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'll do it anyway, because it tells you about how I feel about the lake. It's a little tune. I'll just sing it a cappella. I live out on the lake. I live there for the sake of my soul. The lake is deep and wide, with secrets swimming deep down inside. I live out on the lake. I freak out, I wanna live. I got a lot to give. I live out on the lake. I freak out, I wanna live. I got a lot to give. Although my life is far from holy, as I slowly sip my beer, my dreams of fame and glory echo many miles from here. I'm just a lonesome cowtown yogi sitting cross-eyed on my pier. Yes, my life is far from holy as I slowly sip my beer. Da 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 da.